This episode brought to you by Progressive Insurance. Do you ever find yourself playing the budgeting game? Shifting a little money here, a little there, and hoping it all works out? Well, with the Name Your Price tool from Progressive, you can get a better budgeter and potentially lower your insurance bill too. You tell Progressive what you want to pay for car insurance, and they'll help find you options within your budget. Try it today at Progressive.com. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Price and coverage match limited by state law. Not available in all states.
Introducing Instagram Teen Accounts, a new way to keep your teen safer as they grow. Like making sure they always have their seatbelt on.
All right, buckle up. Good job.
New Instagram Teen Accounts. Automatic protections for who can contact your teen and the content they can see.
Welcome to Heaving Bosoms, the podcast where two best friends recap romance novels while taking walks down memory lane in times of the unexpected. Hey HBs, it's Sabrina. While Mel normally handles our intros and outros, I'm up to bat because she's currently on the IR list with a bad case of laryngitis and needs complete vocal rest until her throat heals. So we're improvising. For the next 2 weeks, we'll be re-releasing favorite episodes that inspired our reading embrace categories before returning to our regular programming. This week, we're revisiting Love for the Cold-Blooded, or The Part-Time Evil Minion's Guide to Accidentally Dating a Superhero by Alex Gabriel, the episode that birthed our beloved sacred frat library category. So grab your capes and get ready to swoon. Here's part 1.
Hello, Melody. Long time no see.
Yes, hello. It is wonderful to see your face. Sabrina, as one of the fastest readers I've ever met, how do you experience that in your brain?
Oh my God. And you don't even know what I've been up to the last 3 days.
Tell listener and me, Melody, how you experience it in your brain, please.
That's a great question. And I never really know how to answer.
And wait, yeah. And I should give a disclaimer here that, I totally understand if you can't adequately describe it. Because I remember having a conversation on the podcast a while ago where I thought that I, couldn't hear my own voice in my head. Mm-hmm. But I don't know why, because that's exclusively how I think. It's just hearing my voice in I think wild. The reason that I'm a really slow reader is because I'm literally narrating it in my brain.
Narrating it to yourself? Oh my God. Yeah, absolutely not.
And I don't know how else to do it. I don't know how. So I can't go fast at all.
Oh my gosh. I can't even.
Isn't that wild?
That's
and I've always been a slow reader. But I don't understand how anybody else reads if you're not hearing it in your head. So can you try to describe it?
I'm just taking it. It's I'm not imagining anything. There's nothing happening up there except for occasionally I'll get impressions kind of.
Yeah, I don't think in pictures at all.
I wouldn't call them pictures. I want to imagine what's happening on the page, I literally have to pause, read it line by line, build it piece by piece, and layer it line by line.
And it's never a clear picture. It's more of an impression or an emotional.
So the answer is I just do it. My brain just goes. I have no idea how to explain.
Does it just wash over your brain? Is it just
It's kind of like just an endless line of text that just scrolls through my head.
Okay.
And I just like bing, bing, bing. Like, and I also definitely 10,000% am somebody who reads based on the first letter and the last letter of the word.
Oh, I'm not. Yeah. Yeah.
I can't tell you how many times I have to pause and go back to be like, wait, I think I got some I think I got some words wrong in that sentence.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That's fascinating. But I think that's why I'm such a slow reader.
Interesting. I have read 2 books in less than 24 hours.
Yeah,
and
I believe that.
I did go to
And
my
plus
full-time job.
Hofus.
And we recorded last night.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Wowza.
Oh my God. Mel.
What's up?
Speaking of reading, have you ever done the thing where you read the first book in a series and you're like, not for me. And then you go back to it for whatever reason, like the second book, like years later, and then you can't fucking put it down.
And that's when it hits.
Oh my God, I'm so excited. That just hit on a 20-book series and I'm about to, I finished the 2 books. It's going to be a 26-book series because it's an alien romance series by Honey Phillips. And the first one's like Anna and the Alien, I think. And it was fine. Like, I don't remember why I wasn't a fan. Like,
sure. Sometimes there's no particular reason. And you might even not a fan.
I think I just wasn't
You're just not in the mood
anymore.
Yeah.
And then, so I was like, I'm just never going to finish this. And then I don't know what bit me in the ass last night. I was like, I'm going to give this another shot.
Was it last night that you texted me, I regret starting this book?
No, that was the book that we are recording on today. And it was like 11:30, I think.
So good.
Listener, for context, I'm usually like in bed by 10. I'm asleep by like 10:30. Usually. It was like midnight probably before I got into bed that night because I was just like, I could not put this book down.
It's so good. Well, listener, are you curious as to why I'm so fixated on being a slow reader and why? It's because I did have to eyeball read this book. And there is absolutely no difference in speed. Actually, I can usually do audiobooks faster because I can make the robot go faster. I can go at like 1.5 speed.
You can't do 1.5 in your brain.
No.
Oh, Melody.
I mean, I can, but like I won't get as much of it. You know what I mean? Anyway, so I have not finished this book, but I'm going to. I really like it.
Okay.
I'm obsessed with it a little bit, and I wish there was more of them.
Okay, listener, we are doing Love for the Cold-Blooded or The Part-Time Evil Minion's Guide to Accidentally Dating a Superhero by Alex Gabriel. I fucking loved book. So I had some issues, which I chalk up to the fact that it came out in 2014. Some of the terminology that gets used.
Oh, yeah, sure. Yeah,
but
there's a couple of times, but yeah, 2014.
Oh my God.
Book is so good.
It's so good.
The main character is like a chatty, charming, just really accepts himself for the mess that he is.
Let me tell you, I almost read a different book accidentally.
What?
Because there's another book that came out recently. It's like the supervillain's guy, or like assistant to the supervillain or something like that.
Okay.
And I totally, in my brain, thought that's what we were reading. And I caught it at like the last second. I was like, this doesn't seem correct. This came out after we got this 5-star rec, I'm pretty sure. So it's only by happenstance that we didn't read 2 separate books accidentally.
Wow. Yeah. I love this book. The world building is excellent. Even when
it's
like
so fascinating.
it just comes out, it's just stated as fact, and then you have to sort of piece it together yourself after a little while.
This is definitely a show don't tell book.
For sure.
And it's incredible.
Yeah. The other hero is definitely an autistic king.
Oh my God.
And I love him so much.
It's been a while since I've read a book. Oh, that's not true. We just read Ravished.
Yeah, but that was the heroine. A little bit,
that was the heroine. But like, it's been a hot minute between those two, like before those 2 books that I've read a character that I'm like, oh, this bitch is autistic.
Yeah.
Like, absolutely. It's not stated, but like, oh, it's just
no, but he's perfect in every way.
Yeah, let's just jump right into it.
Listen, Pat is a student. He wants to be an urban planner. And he has a nighttime job as the house manager for a richy rich boy who lives in a mansion and likes quail eggs on pizza.
Okay.
Do you have something you'd like to say about that?
Nicholas and his food kills me.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So Pat makes this pizza and then promptly puts it in a carry-out pizza box.
Yep.
And sticks it on the dumbwaiter and sends it up to the thing.
To
And
his superhero laboratory.
Yes. And then, like 5 minutes later, a call comes down that says, send up the boy. Or like, send up a boy.
It says, yeah, so send up a guy.
Uh-huh.
Or something like that. Because it's not boy. That would be creepy as fuck.
You're right.
Yeah, we are not going to do that to Nick. But I really like that phrasing because it's very obvious that, like, he didn't press record for the first part of his request. You know what I mean?
He doesn't have to press anything. The AI is just listening. Hey, AI, tell them to send up a guy, is what I'm pretty sure happened.
Okay, yeah, okay, maybe. But he just wasn't. So he looks at this and he's like, I have no idea what that means, but I guess, like, I'm a guy, I'll go see what he needs. And then he goes up there and his boss just, like, he says, you're short.
And blonde.
Pat is like, yeah, and blonde. And Pat is like, okay, wow, I'm 5'10", which is a perfectly average height. Thank you so much around the world.
Pat's inner monologue, this entire book, is
the voice
perfection.
in this is amazing. Oh,
Yes.
The voice is so good. And so then the boss just, like, strips off his shirt and he is a superhero, you know, model hunk man.
Nick is an underwear model hot.
Yeah.
And boy, howdy, I'm not mad about it.
No. And then he looks Pat dead in his beautiful face and he says, so are you going to have sex with me or what? And Pat is like, I mean, I'm not going to look a gift horse in the mouth. So he's like, yeah, absolutely. We can do that. Because he says he always gets shot down.
Mm-hmm. But my favorite thing, by rights, or to be exact, by the time-honored West Sister dating rules, Pat should have collected his shirt and cap and slammed the door on his way out, preferably vowing bloody vengeance, though that part was optional. What Pat actually did was kick off his sneakers and struggle out of his jeans in preparation for getting on the bed. Turned out, Pat had tragically low standards. Sad, but hardly a surprise. Like, it's just so perfect.
And he is a bisexual, not short king.
Uh-huh.
Which
Not
is
short.
Incredible.
Very important. This is stated
not short.
multiple times in the book. He is not short.
I'm not even saying that in a defensive way. The man is just not short.
That's what I'm saying.
You know? So Nick, his boss, the superhero, starts naked prowling up to him on the bed like a panther.
Hang on. Before any of this, Nick looks Pat dead in his beautiful face.
Yeah.
And says, suck my dick, slut.
You little slut.
You little slut.
Suck my dick, you little slut.
And Pat's like,
no, I thought that was when he prowls up and then he stands up on the bed, which was notable to me, Melody. Okay. And that's when he says, suck my dick, you little slut. And Pat is just, like, adorably not into it. He's like, that sounded so corny and lame, and, like, I can't. And so he just flatly refuses. He's just like, let's do other stuff. Like, let's make out. Let's do whatever. He just sort of jazz hands away from the blowjob.
And then they do it. Nick tops Pat and just fucks him real good. At one point, he is fucking him from behind in doggy and growls into his ear, you're beautiful like this. I'm going to fuck you so hard. Yeah. Nicholas, where was this? Actually, to be clear, though, I would respond very differently from Pat to suck my dick, you little slut.
Well, I think it's got to be the mood, right? Like, Nick didn't do anything to turn him on or, like, be
into it.
Yeah, and so it's just, like, if that comes out of nowhere, I'm sorry. Like, that's going to be lame as fuck.
Also, yeah. Well, also, a stranger.
Just sounds like a bad porno. Yeah.
It is a bad porno. He's literally the pizza delivery guy.
Well, and this is also so good because he's like, we're like acting out a bad porno. You're like the guy who orders the pizza, and I'm like the delivery boy who gets fucked.
Mm-hmm.
And Nick is like, what? No, that's not all what we're doing. And then just like kisses him again. And I love the amount that both of these heroes will just like ask a question or say something, and then the other one will look at them and be like, dude, you are so weird.
Uh-huh.
Like, you're so weird. You're the weirdest person I've ever met.
That's literally word for word stated multiple times in this book. You're the weirdest fuck I've ever met.
You're so weird.
And then after the best orgasm of Pat's life, he goes and takes a shower in a spaceship shower.
Yeah.
I need one of these because this thing blow dries you.
It'll
does
coif
all the
your hair. It does all the stuff.
It's crazy, except he doesn't let it do that because we learn that he has unruly curly hair.
Curly girls cannot be blow dried like that, okay? We can't.
No, not a wind tunnel situation.
No. Oh my God. So Nick is sleepy in bed.
And Pat, on his way leaving, he just gets dressed and leaves. And then he's like, hey.
Well, no,
Nick-
wait. He goes up to the bed and he's like, all right, dude, well, I guess I'm going to take off. And Nick is like bleary-eyed and he's like, okay. And then tell them, as he's walking out the door, tell them.
He says, hey, Nikki, there's something I gotta tell you. Nicholas raised his face again slowly, still all bleary and sleepy, but now also with an annoyed vertical crease carved between his brows. Chances were he didn't like being called Nikki. Tough luck. Pat had earned it. You're hot enough to make up for a multitude of sins, and you're definitely a good kisser. But I won't lie, your dirty talk is the pits, man. Like, absolutely subterranean, tunneling to the center of the earth territory, if you catch my drift. Pat paused briefly to think over what he'd said and nodded to himself in satisfaction. His father always said that if you were going to criticize someone, you should lead with a compliment. You should also be encouraging and show concrete ways the suggested change would improve the situation. So Pat went on to explain, I mean, I have no standards to speak of, so it was fine. But if you ever want to get laid again, you have got to shape up, bro. Do yourself a favor here.
Like, lost my mind.
Listener, there's going to be so many quotes this episode. I'm so sorry. There's also going to be so much cackling because, oh my God, I was laugh out loud constantly this entire book.
Yeah. Frankly, I'm really sad that the most appropriate narrator for this would have XY chromosomes, probably. Because, I mean, this is such a fun book. It needs an audiobook.
Oh my God, it would be such...
I
want it to be like a full cast podcast, radio show production. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Like, I want to hear the fighting in the background.
I'll be one of those sisters. Yeah.
Count me. I'm not even a narrator, and count me the fuck in. I would have so much goddamn fun.
This episode is brought to you by Progressive Insurance. Fiscally responsible, financial geniuses, monetary magicians. These are things people say about drivers who switch their car insurance to Progressive and save hundreds. Because Progressive offers discounts for paying in full, owning a home, and more. Plus, you can count on their great customer service to help you when you need it, so your dollar goes a long way. Visit Progressive.com to see if you could save on car insurance. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Potential savings will vary. Not available in all states or situations.
The Essential Mango Coconut Freeze. It makes its appearance at the dinner party, right when the night could go either way between nice evening and legendary. Served in 8 perfect stoneware bowls to the sounds of circa 1950 bossa nova. Seconds, a good debate, and an impromptu round of never have I ever follow. It's gonna be a late one. The Essential Evening Extender, made possible with Vitamix.
So... we find out the next morning when... No, it's not the next morning. It's when he goes back downstairs. The AI
is screaming at him.
And he's like, why is it screaming? Turns out what Nicholas meant was send up a companion, a.k.a. a sex worker who's going to be paid $3,000
For the sex.
Yeah. By the way, this is definitely one of those moments where I was like immediately slapped in the face with the fact that this book was written 10 years ago, though, because the word hooker is used extensively.
Oh, see, and I didn't have any problem with that just because Pat's so quirky. I didn't see it as a demeaning thing or anything like that. I just saw it as him being like a kooky
That's just
guy.
him?
Yeah.
I felt like I got slapped in the face the first time I read it, and then I just whimsied the rest of the fucking book, and it was not an issue. Like, it was never said in a bad way. Like, he was totally fine. He was like, I don't have a problem with sex work.
No, in fact,
I
he
just
steps
didn't
into
plan-
the role of sex worker enthusiastically, as you know. So then he's like, so then the AI is screaming because it needs a vendor to pay. And it wants it right the fuck now because the AI does not fuck around. And so he's looking and there's like a preferred list of vendors / companions.
They're rated.
Of course they're rated. How else would you know who to start with? You know what I mean? And they're all exactly the same. They're all even taller than Nick.
They all look like Nick, though.
They're dark-haired and dark-eyed and like really, 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 really tall, which is why 5'10" is short. And so, first of all, he's like, oh my God, he only fucks underwear model clones of himself? That's a whole thing. And then he's like, I mean, I could do so much with $3,000. I need a new laptop. I need a coat for the winter. I don't have a coat for the winter. I'm a starving student.
10,000%. I am Pat in this scenario.
Absolutely.
I would have been way worse at covering my tracks.
No, I just wouldn't have been able to get a bank account that is different from my bank account that I already gave them.
So one of the things that we learn, and it's not ever explicitly stated, but we learn through like just him talking about his family and we start to get the hint. He is the son of a supervillain, and his whole family are like supervillains in training, except for his dad, who is just...
He's just a serpent slut.
Uh-huh. Yeah, his dad and his mom met on the job. And I'll explain to you in full detail, Melody, at the end of this book, what a serpent slut does exactly. Because it's pretty fantastic.
I cannot wait. Because where I'm at right now in the book, it's only been described as like the aesthetics of Serpentissima or whatever her name is. And so I just pictured them as like male Princess Leia's by Jabba the Hutt.
Boy,
you know,
you are right on. Add approximately a gallon of body oil and you are accurate.
But then it's creepy that her son is one of them.
Don't worry about it. It's so good.
Okay.
Don't worry about it. Because I had the same moment and you're probably going to... Wait, just fucking wait.
Okay. I believe it. I can't wait to read it. So anyway, so he's like, he calls one of his sisters and he's like, hey, don't ask me why. I just need a bank account that you can put a random LLC on. Jesus. And she's like, okay, I've got one that's been established for about 12 years, but never used. Here you go. So he puts his name is Patrick West, okay?
Do you know how long it took me to this would not have worked in an audio format. Because he spells Patrick West, but in the most fucked up way possible.
He spells it Padraig.
Padraigh, and then West is Oust.
Patrick West. West. It's so funny.
Oh my God. It's so good.
So he gets paid those 3,000 thalers. That's huge.
Yes. So then we get to learn a little bit more. Oh, but then he gets fucking called out by the normal house manager the next night when he gets there because she's like, I can't believe that you just chose a random companion. Yeah. How could you?
And like, where'd you find him?
That fast. Because, like, to be clear, the request came in and he was up there like 5 minutes later. The fact that Nicholas just took that all in stride.
Yep, he just had no questions at all.
No questions.
This guy was already on the premises.
Oh my gosh. So we get to a really good look into this universe, this world. God,
Yeah.
the world building in this book is so good. Why
aren't
is
there
it not
17
a
books?
50 book series for
Listen,
every side character?
No pressure and stuff, but like I just need you to know that your brilliance would
Alex
be
Gabriel?
served well with 17 books at
Please.
least.
Yeah, absolutely. Minimum.
It's fine. It's fine. Follow your muse and your bliss and all of that, but just know that we love this so much we would like 17 of them.
Oh my god. I have
It's
to
so
just
good.
stop saying it's so good. We just gotta go.
I know. So here's the thing. A lot of things are presented just as fact because they are facts in this universe. One of them is that there are heroes and there are challengers from Patrick's point of view. Everybody else calls them villains.
From Patrick's point of view,
Yep.
heroes are called hoagies.
Which is also hilarious.
I loved the fact that like we got this look into how perspective matters in this kind of
Absolutely.
situation. Especially because half these supervillains, I'm on your side, bro.
Right. No, absolutely. Yeah.
Like there's good supervillains and there's bad superheroes.
Yes. Just like it would be regularly, you know?
Mhm.
So we know at some point that his mom is Serpentissima.
Serpentissima. Mm-hmm.
Serpentissima, thank you so much.
Mm-hmm.
And he hasn't seen her for 2 years. We find out it's because she's been hibernating to shed her human skin and take on her snake villain skin again.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Serpent Rising.
Yes. Yeah.
Mhm.
She took a break so that she could spend a little bit more
After
time with
her
the kids.
last attempt at world domination, she took a break from world domination to raise her children, and now she's back, baby.
Yeah, she's back, baby. Her second ascension.
And it's so cute because his dad keeps
His-
calling like once a week to be like, I'm so excited. You should see how lovely she is. Her scales are gold, and I'm so happy for her. And this ascension is going to be even better than the last one. And
it's so cute.
He's so proud of his wife.
Yes, he's her number one fan. Anyway, he's out the next day, like trying to get an album that he really, really wants. The band, importantly to me for no reason, is called Bad Mad Rad. And when that happens, there's a big superhero, supervillain clash that happens. And he's like, I don't have time for this. I need to get out of here before it like becomes an issue.
Mm-hmm.
But he gets caught in the middle of it, except that he recognizes the villain.
Mm-hmm.
So he's like trying to sneak up to her to grab his bag that has his CD in it. And she's like, oh my God, Patrick! And then just like grabs him by the scruff of the neck essentially and zooms off and deposits him on a rooftop where nobody can hear them so that she can like posture as if she's like saying terrible things out loud, but she's really saying like, how have you been, darling? I can't believe I haven't seen you since you were like this small. Oh, and he's like cowering, you know,
He's having to remember to like play the good hostage.
Yeah. Oh my God.
So then Nicholas, the Silver Paladin, we have a bunch of hoagies come rolling in. Okay.
Yes.
Nicholas is basically Iron Man, but better. Okay.
Yeah.
Like he's got
But with
force
force
fields
fields that do some things.
and like a mirrored visor, and he's got that perfect jaw to just stand there menacingly and look like a God. Nick is so hot. I can't. Okay, like the way he is described, I'm like, this is mine. This is mine.
I'll take it. Sure.
Yeah. So Nicholas shows up and then grabs
Patrick, and he's
Patrick
like,
off the roof.
What are you doing here?
And Patrick's like,
Patrick's just giggling. He's like, how is this my life? How is this real? And he gets put down on the ground and he's like, you're like not great at this, you know?
By the way, I totally ship Ariadne and Dr. Destiny.
Absolutely.
There is no way that they do not have secret hero villain sex and are madly in love with each other, okay?
Yeah. They have to don disguises to go on vacay together.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Ariadne is the hero and Dr. Destiny is the villain. And Dr. Destiny, notably, is trying to take down a giant chain bookstore that's not actually into books, but just wants to sell like journals and pencils, and they're putting the actual bookstore out of business. And
she fucking blows it up.
She's like, down with Barnes and Noble, essentially.
It was beautiful.
Oh, I loved it. I loved it so much.
So we're back to Nick and Pat is pissed at Nick. He's like, you couldn't have grabbed my shopping bag with my record in it? What the fuck, bro?
You're really bad at saving people.
Uh-huh. And what's important to them. How could you? And Nick's like, I just saved you. Like, what do you... why are you
Pat's
mad
like,
at me?
not good enough. I don't have all of my my possessions that I needed, that I had.
And you know what? That is such a mood.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
That is such a mood. So, Silver Paladin ends up fucking off. And just importantly to me, Nick does go home and jack off to fantasies of himself as the villain. And Silver Paladin
Pat does.
as the hero. Did I say Nick does it? Pat does this.
Just to be sure. Just to be super clear for listener. Yeah, he does.
Yeah. Because
and
to
the
be
next
clear,
day,
listener, Nick is the goodest good. Okay?
He's
like,
so good.
He is so lawful good.
He is binary, yes, lawful good.
What do you think Pat is? Pat's got to be chaotic
He's
neutral.
chaotic neutral. Yeah. I think on the spectrum of neutral, he's very close to good. But I feel like, he's had too many villain influences to...
Yeah. He's
wants
very
to be
an urban planner, man.
He's very ends justify
He doesn't
want to
go. He doesn't want to go into the family business.
No, he doesn't. He's like, I want to spend more time with my family than my parents got to spend with me. That's the chief reason he doesn't want to be a supervillain one day. I just love him and his whole cinnamon roll heart.
Yes.
So the next day, Nick asks for the blonde one. The short blonde one will work. What?
No. So Pat gave an old phone number that he had that he got, he's quote unquote still had.
That's
so
right.
He does not know that Nick is asking around for the blonde one because he gets one of his other sisters, who's basically a hacker genius, to fix his phone number and all of that shit in exchange for a signed copy of a werewolf romance. That Patrick is not. He just occasionally reads
He's
romances.
not a giant super fan. He just reads them sometimes and happens to have a signed copy is all.
Yep. That's it. But so he this is how his sister gets in on it. And his sister basically becomes his pimp.
Yeah. She becomes his office assistant. Thank you so much. So she fields all the calls. She makes sure everybody knows that he only works weeknights and not weekends and not during the day, because that's the only time he's actually on the premises of Nick's house as the night manager. And then she will essentially set up appointments, but she never really needs to because Nick only really requests him at night. Between 2 and 3 in the morning is usually when it happens. Oh my God. And so he sets it up and he's like, oh, he's been asking for me, specifically for me. Like, that means something.
The short blonde escort.
That's a really cool thing that's happening. Like, I'm into that. And so then the next time he goes up, it's after he gets rescued and he reads him the riot act about that CD. He's like, what the fuck, dude? And Nick is like, he's like a little kid. He's like a kicked puppy almost. He's like, I'm so sorry. And Pat is just like, look, it's fine. It's fine. I just need you to know that you can do better.
Also, super importantly to me.
Yes.
Nicholas, his favorite band is, I don't remember what it's called, but he has a favorite band.
Ghost Matter, I think.
Yeah, something like that. And Pat is giving him shit for it, but then finds out and realizes that Nick really loves this band and it's not ironic.
Yeah,
and
it's
he's
not
like,
ironic.
I can't even make fun of him because he's so earnest.
Yes, absolutely. And then he asks him incredibly politely for a blowjob. He's like, will you please put your mouth on my penis, please?
Sorry, I have to go find this.
Yes, please.
Because so, listener, when I have quotes, the way it's like written down in my notes is quote about and then like a quick brief summary of what the quote is. And this says, quote about Nicholas's creepy little face while asking for a blowjob. It came out flat, nearly without inflection. Nicholas's expression was seriously odd, and it took Pat a moment to realize that the dude's wide-eyed stare and prim little grin were his best attempt at an appealing smile. Abruptly, Pat realized he was trying hard to be polite about asking for a blowjob. It was kind of absurd, but weirdly endearing at the same time.
Very endearing.
Sure, Nicholas's stab at an apologetic smile looked more scary than anything, but Pat gave him full points for the ability to learn from his mistakes. He's just like, this is what I pictured, like...
It's more of like a wide-eyed grimace than anything else. So it's adorable. Oh my God. So he does. And he's never given a blowjob before because he doesn't have that much experience.
Uh-huh.
And so he starts like, licking on him a little bit. And he starts like, swirling his tongue around the whatever. He's got his hand on him. And Nick is like, can you do this? Like really do this? And Pat looks up at him and he says something to the effect of, no, this is my or the highway. Take it or leave it. And Nick is like, I guess I'm taking it. Okay. Yeah. However you want to do this.
And then after Nick comes, Pat crawls up on top of him and he's like, it's my turn. And then he two-pump chumps into Nick's ass.
This part of the scene... Wait, no. You have skimmed over this in a manner that does not befit
inappropriate.
Yes.
Is this a two-parter?
No, it's not a two-parter, but it is close. Listen, okay, so then he crawls up and he's like snurfling on his neck.
Mm-hmm.
And Nick is just like blissed out. He just came. He's snurfling on his neck. He does a cuddle up on his back. And then he's like, it's my turn. That's it's my turn. And Nick is like, what are you talking about? He's like, my turn to top. It's my turn to top. He says something like, I'll blow your mind or something.
Uh-huh.
And so
he's so cocky about it. He's like, this is going to be the best sex you've ever had, buddy.
Don't worry about it. I'm going to take care of you. And so then Nick like rolls into position and he's like, all right, man, like
give it your best shot.
Give it your best shot, essentially. And then, once he opens him up and actually like inserts his penis, he's never penetrated anyone else before as well. And so he's just like, he does 2 pumps and a shudder. And that's it.
And then when he's done, Nicholas just looks over his shoulder at him like, what?
Like just mystified. And then Pat, in the most earnest way possible, he's just like, you are so hot. Oh, everything about you is so hot. And he's like snurfling up on his neck again. And Nick gets this like small smile on his face. Like, oh, okay. He's so
These
overcome.
2 hot dummies are so cute.
Meanwhile, can you imagine hiring a sex worker and then getting this?
And I love that Pat is still just being his hot mess self.
Oh, of course.
Even though he knows he's getting 3K. You know what I mean? Like, he doesn't put on airs. He's like, this is what you're getting, buddy. Okay?
And I love that Nick is like, this makes him curious. He's like,
it's a mystery.
It is. It's a mystery. And also, like, they get off really well together and they're super attracted to each other. Mm-hmm. And I think also the fact that he's not Nick's, like, type on paper, as people say, is also confusing
part of the
to
appeal.
him.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So then, oh my God.
Then we zippy zap. It's like the next day or a couple of days later, and Patrick gets home from the library, and Nicholas is just skulking around his front door.
He's trying as hard as he can to like lean against the wall in a natural way that looks casual and totally fine. Like he can't do it.
And it's because he's here to give him his album.
He went to the police station and he got them to release his album out of evidence to Nicholas's custody because it wasn't important to the case and he could give it back to Pat. And Pat's immediately like, dude. Okay, also, listener, this whole time, Patrick has a very specific inner monologue voice, and then he is the broiest bro who's ever broed when he talks out loud. It's always dude, man, bro. And so he's like, dude, this is so cool. Like, you should come in and listen to it with me. And this is very confusing to Nick because normally he would be paying for any time they spend together, regardless of the activity. So he's like, okay, like he doesn't know how to navigate the situation when it's not explicitly a transaction. And that makes sense. That makes him a good person because he's respecting his assumed profession, you know? So then he goes in and and Patrick's like, oh yeah, I'm gonna put it on the thing. Like, oh, like we're rocking out. But then he notices that Nick is like getting more and more uncomfortable. And finally he's like, dude, what's going on? Are you not having a good time? Like, what's happening? Because Nick says he's gonna go. And then he explains the fact that he doesn't know how to handle this because it's not specifically a transaction. And so Pat thinks for a minute and then he says, oh, dude, hold on. Goes over to his wallet.
I love your Pat impression, by the way. Please never stop. I need you. You know what? There's no audiobook for this. You can start from here.
Okay.
I just start narrating. Pull the book up, babe. Pull the book up.
So he walks over and he grabs a 20 out of his wallet and he hands it to Nicholas. And he says, that should be enough for like a few hours of your time, right? And Nick is like, he like looks at it and he's very confused. And then he gets this teeny tiny one corner of his mouth smile.
Nick's
and then
smiles
he nods.
lights up my whole world. Okay? Nick with his one little lip quirk of a smile is what gets me up in the morning.
No, absolutely.
So now Patrick gives him a little makeover and puts a band t-shirt on him.
No, a flannel shirt because he doesn't want to make. Oh, really?
I thought that it was both, and so it's like an unbuttoned.
Oh, I thought he couldn't decide because he didn't want Nick to like compromise his band principles by wearing a not Ghost Matter shirt.
So Patrick then takes Nicholas to a frat party.
Oh my God. And he finds out that Nick's never been to a frat party ever. And he's like,
what world, Pat? What world?
What would take him to a frat party? I wonder. Like, nothing. And so he's like, bro, you haven't been to a frat party? Oh my God. Well, we're going to give you the full experience. And they like make out against a wall. It's so cute.
What?
Yeah.
Thing.
Tell them
one
about
point, Nicholas asks who Pat's favorite superhero is.
Who's
your favorite
villain?
Superhero? No. Pat.
Oh, Nick as Pat. Sorry.
And he says, who's your favorite superhero? Wow. He was totally fishing for compliments. I was almost entirely certain that he shouldn't have found this as endearing as he did, but it wasn't like he could help it with the man looking all self-conscious and shy and hopeful. Don't really have one. Nick deflated visibly, shoulders hunching slightly. Was that a kicked puppy look too? That was just unfair. Pat wasn't made of stone. Come on. Fine, you got me. Recently, I may have developed a certain fondness for that weirdo with no taste in music and all the force fields. You know, the loser who flies around in a silver bodysuit that shows off his ass. Yeah. It came out so softly, and Nick still looked so absurdly shy that Pat really had no choice but to grab him and pull him down for a kiss.
I can't with these two. They're so cute.
And then Pat turns it around and says, Nick, who's your favorite supervillain? And Nick's favorite supervillain is Serpentissima.
Is Pat's mom. And he says that like she was so cunning and her ascension was like a coming of age thing for him. And it's so unintentionally sweet.
It's so fucking cute.
It's so cute.
So then they do a little dancey dance. They do a little makey-yatty. They get voyeured on by two random women in a library.
I did have a bing boom bong moment. And I don't know how much time you spent in frats in college. I didn't spend a ton of time in frats, but
I don't think of a frat house as a place where there's a library.
Yeah, that's my big thing. There's allegedly a library in this frat house. And it's like a big enough library that different people can fuck in different aisles of the stacks. What?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
What is this, Beauty and the Beast? Like, that doesn't make any sense.
I just whimsied that shit.
Yeah, we can, but I just had to note it for the record.
Yeah.
Listen, in a book full of superpowers and flying people,
What took me out of it was the frat library.
the library in the frat house is where I couldn't suspend my disbelief.
You draw the line. So then they continue, they're hot and heavy makeout, and then smack dab in the middle of it, Nick goes, "Man, you want to know it sounds really good?" And Pat's like, yeah.
Is it
and Nick's
my hole you almost have your finger in? That would be...
Nick goes, pizza. And when Pat looks down, it's like it's like 2 o'clock on the dot.
And so, oh my God, then they're going to go to a pizza shop. And on the way, Nick is like musing about the toppings he's going to ask for. And so he's like, I think I'm going to go with some pheasant and a very specific type of mushroom that's only found in Russia and quail eggs and like gorgonzola or something like that.
Yeah.
Pat is like, what are you talking about? Pizza places don't have toppings like that. And he's like, no, they absolutely do. So then they go into this place and Nick is horrified with the lack of topping selection that this place has. He's about to read the person the riot act, and Pat has to like push him aside. And then afterwards, Pat, who has been marveling over the fact that he makes this gourmet pizza every night and then puts it into a cardboard takeout box and then sends it up, realizes that Nick has been thinking that he's ordering pizza like a regular person. He just thinks that like his AI found a better restaurant than this one.
And then it's kind of sad because we find out it's because his house managers, like, he's basically been babied his whole life. And he was, like, upset with the pizza that he got one time, but he wants takeout.
And so they just started stocking, like, generic takeout stuff.
Pretending.
Yeah. It's wild.
It broke, like, first world problems, bro, but like it broke my heart because Nick was distraught when he realized.
He's disenchanted. Like he was like a part. It's that moment when like the glass breaks and you can never unhear it, you know? And he's just like, what? No, that's not possible. I order takeout just like a regular person. And then Pat gets very specific about how that pizza is crafted by his gourmet chefs and then put together very specifically with like a grid pattern topping distribution instruction manual.
Yeah. Let me tell you, this book made me order a pizza on Tuesday and mine did not look like that.
No. There were no quail eggs on the last pizza I had.
I did not even have the option.
Oh.
It was not
slackers.
Perfectly symmetrical. You know what, Domino's? How dare you?
How dare you? I will say that after making my own pizza dough semi-regularly, it's fucking hard to make a circle, you know?
As somebody who worked at a pizza place, I still can't make a circle.
Fuck that. That's hard. Sometimes I'm just like, we're having a pizza log tonight. It has pizza on it. It's
good.
Pizza.
Fucking good.
Yeah. So then that bites him straight in the ass.
Well, so Patrick,
because they go back to the house.
Well, I was just gonna jump past that.
Oh, okay. It's very cute. They have like an is this a date or is this not a date goodbye kind of situation. And now we're gonna move on.
So Patrick shows up to work the next night and Nicholas ends up having to fly away to do some superhero stuff. But when he gets back, he calls for his favorite little companion and then they end up playing video games together.
Yes.
And snuggling.
And then Patrick is like, AI, don't pay the vendor tonight. It's on the house. Yeah. And so they put it as like a promotional offer.
And it's just super duper cute.
It's very cute.
So importantly, he also gets a phone call. He's up for Minion training. That was Minion duty from his sister. That was the trade, is that she would get him the bank account in exchange for Minion duty because nobody wants to do Minion duty.
Yeah. So now he's making the pizza of the night, dancing around, doing his jig, putting those quail eggs on there. And then he just hears from behind him, Patrick? And Nick is there because, of course, he wants to investigate how his pizzas are actually getting to him now that the bubble has been burst. And Patrick turns around and he's just like, he says he doesn't know what to do and he's a terrible liar. And so he just blurts the truth and he says, I'm the night manager.
Caught red-handed.
And then he just babbles the whole thing.
Mm-hmm. And then Nick just leaves.
He doesn't say a word.
He just turns
listener. He just leaves.
And then Patrick calls the night manager, the house manager, to come take over and says that he's not feeling well. And then he leaves.
He thinks he's fired. He spends a month doing other shit.
Yes.
Like, working on his urban planning classes and stuff, trying to keep his mind off of the love of his life, really. He doesn't know that, but it's true. Mm-hmm. And then he gets a call from this manager like a month later being like, hey, we need you to come in because we're overhauling the AI and we need you to do X, Y, and Z. And so he's like, what? And she's like, yeah, it's really great that you've had like a month off, but it's time to come back and do your job. And he's like, well, I didn't even think that was an option. So then he gets called up for Minion duty. And he's going to be working for Sir Toby of Tobytown.
Yep.
And he was Serpentissima's mentor. And he's like a dapper gentleman. I'm sure he smokes a pipe.
Oh, absolutely. Definitely drinks bourbon.
Yes. He's always wearing a 3-piece suit. And he wants to mind control everyone specifically so he can improve the city's functioning and like get rid of the corruption and fix all the shit that's wrong and like redo the streets maybe and make the city better for everyone. That's why he wants to mind control everybody.
Yeah. So it all goes to shit as we expected to. But the reason it goes to shit is because a different supervillain named Bitterfly flies. Shut up.
I know.
That was the cutest thing.
That was the cutest.
So Bitterfly flies in and she's like, get fucked. I'm taking the thing that's powering this mind control ray.
Yeah.
And it's coming with me. And so she like freezes everybody.
Except for Pat, because Pat runs out of the way. But then he tries to get it back from her and she like elbows him in the face and then flies off.
And Sir Toby's like, you can't let her do that because it needs to be used a specific way. Otherwise, it's going to like suck her brains out and kill her. And you have to save her. Her eyes will start
melting out of her face if she uses it without a containment vessel.
And so on his way out, guess who he runs into?
Well, who else is he going to run into?
Silver Paladin.
And he's like, hey, I know we've got our issues, but like, I need your help. We have to go after Bitterfly because she got this thing and it's bad and it'll kill her. And so Silver Paladin is very confused about this because on the one hand, he knows that he now found out that his paramour is an evil minion. He's a minion to a supervillain. And like, that cannot stand. But at the same time, the evil minion is trying to stop a different supervillain for like really altruistic reasons. And he's like, I guess if I'm stopping a supervillain, that's really that's my job, So like, sure, man. Throws him over his shoulder fireman carry style and then zooms off to go get her. They figure out that she's staying in this like historic, beautiful hotel.
It's like 100 years old. There's so much history here.
It's basically like this Art Deco masterpiece.
And Nicholas is about to fly up and just punch through the wall to get inside. And Pat is like, absolutely not.
I will rescue you.
Like, you heroes and villains, and you hoagies and challengers and just blowing up cities and
and you don't care about all the destruction you create and all the history you destroy and blah blah blah. And so the next paragraph is like, so now everybody was scrambling to get Nicholas a key to the penthouse because they couldn't wait to help out the illustrious hero.
And then Pat runs straight upstairs, though, and he's like, Bitterfly, you can't do it. He's trying to explain it to her, and she's like, no.
Go kick rocks. This is a trick.
So then Nick gets up there, dink, beep, beep, and the door opens. Bitterfly and Nick are now in a shoot 'em out fight.
They're brawling.
Like full on.
Fisticuffs,
and Pat's like,
brawling.
I gotta find this thing. And then he finally finds it. And it is on Bitterfly's belt.
Yep.
And
he goes to grab it at the same time that Silver Paladin is shooting a laser of some sort of stun laser. And it activates the crystal. And then the crystal like shoots power up his arm. And it's semi-sentient, and so it's being like, ooh, we could use the power, and you can plan all the cities even better, and you make everybody,
and the reason
so
it
much
doesn't
more
work,
functional.
The reason it doesn't work on Pat is because he's like, this is so lame.
That's so lame. Like, who would fall for that? That's such an obvious ploy.
And so he ends up coming out of it, and Nick puts it in some fancy box.
And Nick is like, how? How did you not fall to the temptation of the evil? And he's like, what, are you joking? Like, it's so lame. And so Nick is extra confused now. Like, he doesn't know what to do with himself.
And Pat can hear Bitterfly crying from the
sobbing.
other room. And he goes to check on her. And he's immediately pissed because Nicholas
can't.
handcuffed her to the bed, and he walks back out and he's like, Nick, what the fuck? You can't just handcuff a woman to a bed who doesn't want to be handcuffed to a bed.
And Nick is like, it's a restraint. And he's like, there is semantics. Like, there is some very important context here that you ignored. So then he goes over and he's trying to comfort her, and he's like, Bitterfly, like, it's going to be okay. And she goes, it's not Bitterfly. I want it to be Butterfly.
By the way, just because I happened to skim past this when I was going through the quote, when he's giving Nick hell, specifically he goes, bad hoagie.
Yes.
Like, bad dog.
He's snoot booped him.
Snoot booped.
Yeah. And so then we find out that she's only Bitterfly because some journalist did
Messed
a
it up.
misspelling. And she now lives with that. And up until this point, he has been like ridiculing her in his mind as like one of the lamest of the villains. And oh my God, it's just, and so by the end of this thing, because her whole thing is she's like Miss Fashion. And so she's like, I just want everything to be beautiful. And why don't they want it to be beautiful? Why does everyone want everything to stay ugly? I just want to help and beautify the world.
The reasons that these villains have are the best thing that's ever happened to me.
It's so good. I can't wait to find out his mom's reasoning. Anyway, so then he is like agreeing with her, and he's being like, yeah, it's not only not beautiful, but also it could function so much better if we planned it with blah, 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 blah. And then at the end of this conversation, Butterfly is like, do you want to be my right hand? Do you want to be my trusted lieutenant? And he's like very much not wanting to be in the villain biz at all. And so he tries to let her down easy. And he's like, plus, I'm still minioning for Sir Toby, and you wouldn't want me to abandon him, would you? Like, that wouldn't make me a good minion. And she's like, we will resume this conversation when he's done with his attempt at world domination. And then he walks out, and Nick is just standing there trying to pretend like he wasn't listening to the whole thing. Because again, this is so weird to him. He's very black and white about villains being bad and doing things for selfish reasons and la la la. And so not only is he seeing the behind the scenes of both Butterfly and Pat, but he's also encountering a person who like cannot be tempted by the trappings of villainry. And that's just absurd to him almost. What were you going to say?
I just keep going. There's
okay.
It's taking everything in me not to stop for like every little thing.
Every quote, every single quote.
I know. Especially because like the quotes are because they're all so good. Like I was just like,
you can't choose one paragraph. It's got to be two most of the time.
It's like 3 of them. Yeah. Like this one where he's talking about how fond Pat is, about how non-scary and non-amoral Nick is, and how Pat's kind of fond of him. And that was the entire problem when you thought about it. Oh, well, he'd get over it. He didn't want to, but he would. Not wanting to get over it was probably just another symptom. And then Pat would no longer have to feel the weird wrenching fondness that tugged at him when Nick frowned forebodingly as he listened to Nexus, looking both heroically square-jawed and childishly mulish at the same time. And Pat wouldn't think that Nick looked remarkably fuckable for someone so wrapped up in a quantum costume, force fields, and righteousness. And Pat wouldn't have so much trouble remembering that Nick wasn't just, or perhaps even primarily, Nicholas Anderson, grumpy, sweet dork, and socially challenged geek. He was also Silver Paladin, one of the foremost superheroes of his time, which was, of course, in itself the best reason why Pat should never have jumped into bed with him in the first place, let alone, well, done anything to compound the initial error. But yesterday's sun couldn't hatch today's snakelets, so yeah, getting over it. That was the plan. Y'all, when we say that the voice in this book is so unique, it's so good.
It's wild. It's
because he rambles in his brain, but it's not annoying.
No, it is so clever and charming and delicious.
So Pat and Nick go their separate ways again.
But then he's meant to go and do his voice AI thing, and he decides that he's going to resign from his post at that time. So he walks in with a chocolate cake. And he's like, I cannot do this anymore. Thank you so much for all of your training and your wisdom, but I have to go to like the
I don't have a
house
serving
manager.
heart.
Yeah. And then as he's walking out, the AI is like, Mr. Anderson is welcoming you to join him in his private laboratory. He's like, okay. And so he goes up and tell them what Nick is like,
just have a little, I didn't actually take a bunch of highlights from this one because I just couldn't stop reading, right?
Yeah.
But Pat made Nick a cake and they have a little conversation about how supervillains aren't really that evil. It's just kind of, a step in the door to like make things better for whatever way that they think that it would be better. And then he convinces Nick to cut a slice of cake. But before he can eat it, they're having another conversation and Pat's apologizing for everything that happened. And then Nicholas says he's not sorry about finding out the truth because it's always better to know the truth, Patrick. Always. Even if it hurts. No, especially then. Especially when the lie is pretty and easy and comfortable. And then they go their separate ways again and Patrick cries in the elevator on the way down.
Of course. And I loved this scene because it starts in the way that a lot of their scenes start together, with Nick either asking a very abrupt question or just making a very abrupt statement. And so Patrick walks into the room and Nicholas just says, "You're not evil." And he's like, "No, I'm not." And so it's so clear that Nicholas is still trying to figure out this puzzle of a human.
Yes.
And during the scene, he asks him why he quit. And Pat, verbal diarrhea, is like, well, I think I would be reminded of you all the time. And I'd be wondering if you were thinking about me. And like, it's really uncomfortable. And so I just thought it's best.
It's just not healthy.
It's just not healthy. And then all Nicholas says is like something like noted or okay.
Like understood.
Understood. So now he's throwing himself into school and minioning.
Well, wait a fucking minute.
What?
Pat gets a job at a 24-hour coffee shop overnight.
Yeah.
Okay? And Nick starts coming into that coffee shop
at between 2 and 3
in the morning every morning. And he doesn't look at Patrick, but he just looks at his tablet, but he comes in every morning and he does the thing. And Nick tells Patrick.
After about a week, Pat's like, "Are you stalking me?" And Nick just says, "Yes."
Yes.
And then he goes and sits down at his table.
And Patrick has, so Nick always orders a black coffee, and Patrick refuses to make him just a black coffee.
Because the coffee there is terrible.
Yeah.
He's like, wait, I cannot do that to any person.
But also, like, Nick keeps telling Pat, he's like, your coffee sucks. And then Pat's like, you're welcome. And then he takes the coffee and he drinks it anyway.
Yeah, but he keeps on making him like more and more elaborate drinks.
Yeah, with like fruity frou-frou flavors and foam and...
By their last encounter, he's trying to make the most symmetrical caramel lattice on top of the foam as he possibly can.
Uh-huh.
It is so much.
So then he tries to invite Nick to another party, and Nicholas is like, no, but ask me next time.
Yeah, he says specifically, not yet.
Mm-hmm. So Pat waits, and then Nicholas doesn't come back for 4 days.
What even is he?
And when he gets there, he's like, I'm not going to go to the party with you. And Pat's like, you didn't even let me ask.
He says, I'm not going to any party with you ever. Basically, like, that's what he says.
Yeah.
I'm not going to any parties with you.
But instead of asking me to the party, you should ask me to go to the storeroom.
Oh, the way that my mouth dropped open when I read that line.
I was giddy. And then,
I
of
was
course,
Twitter-pated.
Pat's best wingman buddy, Cat, is like, go do inventory, dude. Go.
I have a sudden need for inventory. Goodbye.
Uh-huh. And then, hang on.
Oh my God. He pushes him very gently up against the bookcase. Go ahead, yeah.
As soon as the door had fallen shut, Nick turned and grabbed Pat, pushing him against the nearest set of shelves. Pat gave a low gasp as Nick leaned into him, bracing his arms against the shelf on either side of Pat's shoulders to fence him in. Long moments passed in silence as Nick's eyes roamed over Pat's face, evidently... Why did I say it like that? Evidently cataloging every feature. He was frowning slightly, and Pat didn't dare to do any of the things he would have liked to do. He still didn't know what was going on, and maybe Nick wouldn't be okay with being kissed or pulled in closer, or Nick's brow smoothed in the same instant the steel went out of his posture. He sagged forward slowly, bowing his head until his face was buried against Pat's throat, nose nuzzling against his jaw. It was weird as fuck. It was damn uncomfortable, too, what with the shelves behind Pat digging painfully into his shoulders. Not to mention they were surrounded by sacks of coffee beans, plastic vats of syrup, and stacked boxes of takeaway cups and straws. And Pat was looking straight at the disturbing poster of dancing coffee beans on the wall behind Nick. Every one of the beans was watching him with beady red eyes and a wide rictus-like grin filled with tiny teeth. It was perfect.
Yeah.
Pat never wanted to move. I miss you. The words were muffled against Pat's neck. The feeling of Nick's breath hot against sensitive skin made him shiver. I should put you out of my mind and move on. But I miss you.
I miss you. Oh, no. He's so conflicted, Sabrina. He's so conflicted.
Well, then Pat makes a dumb fucking comment to Nick about his cookie cutter companions. And Nick tells him.
No, he says, oh, are the underwear models not doing it for you? He's like, I don't know what you're talking about, but I haven't seen anybody because it wouldn't feel right.
And then they have a cute little makeout. And then Nick leaves.
A gentle one.
Nick just fucks off. And then he texts Pat and is like, well, you should come on a date with me Saturday, 6.
And he has to put me, parentheses, Nicholas, because they've never texted before and they don't have each other's numbers.
Which begs the question, how did you get his number?
He's a billionaire. He's a billionaire tech genius. Iron Man can get anybody's number.
Okay. That's where we'll stop for today. Join us tomorrow for the rest of this hilariously fantastic ride. See you then. Heaving Bosoms is produced by us, Sabrina Bradley and Melody Carlisle. Editing is done by Melody Carlisle.
Our theme music is by the incredible singer-songwriter Brittany Fance, and our art is ultra-talented author Kay Pryor. Like what you hear? Then be sure to follow us on your favorite podcast app, drop a 5-star rating, and leave a review. Not only is it the best way to find HBs, but don't forget about that 5-star bribe. For advertising inquiries or anything else, you can email us at heavingbosomspodcast@gmail.com. If you want more of us, visit patreon.com/heavingbosomspodcast for exclusive content and to join our lively Discord community. You can also find us on Instagram, Threads, and Blue Sky at Heaving Bosoms, on TikTok at Heaving_Bosoms, and in our Facebook group, the Heaving Bosoms Geriatric Friendship Cult.